Okay, 10 seconds. TC 460 and 461 from KAILASH CHANDRA, Volume 21.
Start. Mr. Chairman, sir, I find myself in a little difficult position, having been called to speak after the long, instructive, and informative speech, or shall I say, discourse by the Prime Minister. In the other house, the Prime Minister himself had said that it was not possible to do justice to the plan in the course of one or two speeches. If that is so in his case, with all his ability, with his vast experience, and with his intimate knowledge of planning and also of the document before us, it is simply impossible for us to deal with even some of the salient features of the plan within the short time that you may be pleased to allow. I have therefore decided to deal with only two important matters, namely implementation and resources. But having to speak after the Prime Minister, I have to refer to some of the points he has made. I may state at the very outset that I do recognize that a great deal of thought has been bestowed on the preparation of the draft plan, and a lot of time and trouble have been taken over its preparation, and I also admire the patience and optimism of its authors, and I can even understand its tone or note of optimism that runs throughout the document. Yet I cannot see my way to congratulate them for the document before us. For after 10 years of functioning of a full-fledged plan commission in the country, after the working experience of two plans, I expected a different kind of document, a more realistic and business-like stock taking of our efforts in the past. The picture, as the Prime Minister said, of the India to come is there, but I find that in important parts it is not clear. The lines are not at all distinct, and even some of the lines made clear in the previous plans have been blurred and they are not intelligible. For instance, certain needs which were described as basic needs of the people have been referred to in this draft as amenities. I give only one instance. Supply of drinking water for the villages was referred to as a basic need in the second plan, and in this plan it has been referred to as an amenity. I find that the draft is not as clear as was the second plan. The Planning Commission was appointed after the Constitution had been framed. The Constitution had given certain directive principles, and it was expected that the Planning Commission would come out with a plan for the implementation of those principles. I can give only one illustration. The Prime Minister talked about so many millions of children going to school. But how many millions are there who are not going to school? The directive principle lays down that by the end of 1960, all children up to 14 years should be in school, and now we find that even by the end of the third plan, we will not be able to send all children under 14 to school. We will be able to send children only up to 11. I know that there have been difficulties, but then we should be bold enough and honest enough to say that it was an impossible directive that should be modified and that it should not be there. About the other directive principles, I do not want to refer. I do not have the time on the other. I may point out that while I appreciate the remarkable achievements made, I also have to share the blame for what has not been done. In the second plan, you had fixed certain targets. Of course, the prices went up by 20%. Now you are going to make certain investments in the third plan. I have the authoritative opinion of an economist, so we must not be satisfied with that. I say I can understand the note of self-satisfaction on their part because but for that they will not be there and they would have left the job long ago. So we have to devise ways and means. The Prime Minister knows that I have given some thought to the problems confronting us and I have sent suggestions to him from time to time and he has passed them on to the Planning Commission. Sir, at the time of the preparation of the second plan, I had sent some suggestions and one of them was that I wanted to provide work to the unemployed in the villages. It is said that we do require better technique, but I know that in the villages where you have provided irrigation facilities, better seeds and fertilizers and done everything to help the agriculturist, still the yield per acre has not gone up. There have been prize competitions, but that is a delusion. You put so much fertilizers in a place and you can show a bumper crop, but the average has gone down. Administration, as we all know, has grown not only in volume but also in complexity. So it is but proper that the House attaches the greatest importance to the machinery which is charged with the responsibility to seeing that the recruitment and the discipline of the services are maintained at the highest possible standard. Sir, the report before the House gives a clean bill to the government. But from what some of the honorable members pointed out during the debate, it seems to me that the report is significant for what it omits to say. For instance, my honorable friend Mr. Bhargava drew attention to a number of alleged irregularities on the part of the Commission and the ministries. We do not know how far they are true because they do not find a place in the report. Probably they fall outside the years to which the report relates. But if the observations made by my honorable friend are borne out by facts, it is a matter for serious consideration if the Commission's role should be what it is generally expected to be by the government and the House. It has probably to assume a superior role if it is to control effectively the policy of recruitment and the standard of efficiency in the services generally. Sir, I shall not go into the question referred to by the Honourable Member and we expect the Honourable Member to throw more light on the aspects which were brought to the notice of the House. Sir, reference has been made to a fall in standards. It is said that education in the universities and the educational system generally should improve and unless that is so, we cannot have the desired personnel to man the services. In that connection, honorable members have referred to the need for improving not only the university stage of education but also the secondary stage. I would like to go a step further and say that the whole system of education has to be looked upon as one integrated whole, and unless we strengthen our educational system from the very bottom, it is no use our concentrating only on the university stage or the secondary stage. Even from the primary level, education as a whole is in a melting pot, not with regard to the curriculum alone but also with regard to the medium of education and its objectives. Sir, I would now refer to the question of examinations. Much has been said on whether there should be an oral test and what its place should be in deciding the merits of applicants. Sir, I feel compelled to say that the viva voce test is very necessary to select proper persons for the services. There is nothing sacrosanct about the written test. It depends, it is true, on the intellectual discipline that a person has gone through, but that is not all for judging the merit of a person. The personality of an individual is many-sided. Just as people have said that it is difficult to judge the worth of a person in a 15-minute interview, I submit that it is equally difficult to judge the capacity or the efficiency of a person by the amount of crammed knowledge that he is able to put out. We know that the government itself is not satisfied with the system of education and it is thinking of reforming it. So, sir, there can be no final word about it, but the system of selection has to be determined as much as possible after taking into account all the factors that go to make a personality today. Then, sir, I would like to say a word about the constitution of the commission itself. But much has been said about the need to maintain the dignity of the commission and the preeminent place given to it in the constitution. We are all agreed on that. It is necessary, I feel, that non-official members of the commission should be given security in their later years by providing for pension. But I would like to know how many non-official members are in the UPSC. I think the strength of the non-official element is very little, and I would in this connection point out to the government the need for taking in more men from public life. Sir, at the present moment, it is dominated by the official element. It is true that there are distinguished men from the educational and other fields, but then we have to have regard to the needs of the present day administration when we have passed from the regulatory stage of the government to the welfare stage, and to have persons in our services who have a broader outlook on our problems. I would in this connection recall the observations of Dr. Appleby when he said with regard to the Indian administrative service that a member of that service was more conscious of his membership of the service to which he belonged.